about to get it started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to be with you again today for another show. I hope you've been having a fantastic week. It has been it's been a good week for me, but a little tiresome. It's been extra busy. I guess my body's still trying to get used to this time shift, and it's just been a wild time, but I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your time with me this evening. If it's your first time, this Soul Swami, we generally do some talking about healing and energy readings. If anybody joined the show or if I schedule one before we do the show. But that's simply what's going on here. And our tonight's discussion will continue on our reprogramming our mind. And it is... Tonight we'll be talking about symbols and how we utilize symbols. But first, we generally start off with a visualization. One of my followers, one of the soul family, asked if we could start trying to do chakra cleansings before the shows. So that is one thing we try to do. So we do a little sound and a little breathing, and then the visualization. So we're using the small bowl today. I checked it out. I ain't had no problem today. Yeah, I'm curious myself because last week when I tried to do the small bowl, I was struggling and my throat energy was off. But I've definitely had opportunity to do some exercise my communication skills this week. So I noticed the bowl was ringing a little louder, so I just want to see. All right. I definitely when I had that opportunity to communicate my feelings thoroughly, I took advantage of it. And I don't know, like I said, if you were on the show last week, we had a little problem. I couldn't get much sound out the bowl. And then when I checked out my throat energy, the pendulum didn't move at all. Really, it barely moved. But I appreciate that. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of exercising my awareness and recognizing the opportunities. And if I actually am growing and healing, responding a little differently to situations that I've been in before. So that was Blue for the root chakra, but we start back over. We are on, depends on how you go, but we are on the root chakra, and we started including light therapy. So the light background mostly is red to symbolize our root chakra. And since we are going back to the foundation, I definitely want to take a little time and do our original breathing exercise that we did starting off, which was 369. So we're going to do the 369 breathing exercise. Then we'll go into the visualization. The element for your root chakra is is earth. And like I said, the color is red. So if you don't know, 369 is on my count of 3. We breathe in, hold our breath for 3 seconds, then breathe out. Then we breathe in, hold our breath for 6 seconds, breathe out, breathe in, hold our breath for 9 seconds, and breathe out. I generally keep the count so you can close your eyes, find yourself a comfortable place, be in a comfortable position, relax, clear your mind, shake out all your wiggles, all those great things. And on my count of 3, we're going to inhale and hold it for 3 seconds, right? 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, hold it for 3, 2, 3. Release. We're going to do that again for 6 seconds. On my count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and release. Be very intentional with your exhales. Focus in on your breathing in, and you breathing in good energy, and releasing anxiety, negativity, confusion, insecurities. Breathe in confidence. Last time for 9 seconds. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and release. It's a good reset breath with earth being the element for your root chakra. I want you to imagine yourself standing in some of that good old North Carolina red clay. And if you've never been to North Carolina is known for having dirt that is the consistency of red clay. Ironically, at times there are people who even eat the red clay. But the red clay is a North Carolina staple. So imagine that you're standing on a ground that is made of red clay. And you look down at your feet. And as you look at your feet, your toes begin to stretch and your feet begin to widen. And as they are growing, they begin to take on the shape of roots. And you feel yourself through your feet connecting to the earth, coming attached, feeling more grounded. And as you look at yourself, you see your roots spread all over, as far as the eyes can see. And you are absorbing healthy, positive, affirmations from the soul. And you are nourishing the soil with the love that resides internally and eternally inside of you. And as you look at your arms, they begin to branch out like the branches of a tree. And they become the extensions of your love. And with every branch, you begin to see little branches stem off and leaves begin to grow on those stemming branches. And each leaf represents a hope, a care, a wish, a dream, an affirmation. And you're reading these words of love, resilience, worthiness, safety. And these words are nurturing your soil and your soul. And as you interchange energies with a sort of alchemy with the earth, I want you to repeat after me. I am safe and secure. I am grounded and centered. I am self-sufficient. I am financially secure. I love being in my body. I am safe and secure. I am grounded and centered. I am self-sufficient. I am financially secure. And I love being in my body. So take yourself a deep breath. We're about to move on to the next part of the show. Generally, again, if this is your first time, this is where we just have a conversation, or we do energy readings. This winds up being somewhat of a variety type thing. But we have been discussing, you know what? I think I want to have a moment of vulnerability and with y'all before we get started. So I kind of alluded to it. If you weren't, I know if you weren't part of it last week, you didn't see how bad the bowl was. But if you were, you saw how I was trying to get the sound together for the bowl. And it wasn't working. And I knew on my spirit that there were some things. I even read my energy and gave some ideas. But I knew it was on my spirit that there are some things that I definitely needed to communicate better. And essentially, it stems around dating and romance. I've mentioned to you all before that there are times in my life where I'm very much okay with ghosting. I think it does have a place, and I'm not one of those people that think whenever you do it, you're a coward. Because if you can think of one time, such as escaping an abusive relationship, but if you can think of one time where it's okay, then you have to understand that there is a place for it. But in saying that, I knew for myself, after praying, we're on this healing journey, and I came to not necessarily even the realization, but clarity was afforded to me. And by doing that, I really wouldn't say anything unless I saw it had a point. I didn't really believe in casting my pearls among swines or nourishing unfertile soil, dropping my gems on unfertile soil, right? Planting seeds. But in the offered clarity, I realized that by not doing that, I robbed myself of an opportunity to strengthen my communication skills. And essentially, I robbed someone else of an opportunity of growth. Because even though I have judged or deemed it not worthy, who am I really to say that? And understanding the power of words, or like we talked about last week, the power of suggestion, I do not know if those words that I say will be the catalyst for change. So when this opportunity arose, I took the opportunity to be genuine and honest with the person. And although the response may not have been something that they wanted, they understood and respected it came from a genuine and healed place. And essentially, many of us want to, I think we talked about it on this show. It was this saying where people want to save the world because it takes the focus off them saving themselves. And along that line of thinking, I think sometimes in dating and romance, we use those interactions as validation or escapism from really investing the energy and the time to grow and heal ourselves, right? Give ourselves that self-critical analysis that we talked about last week. So, in this, I will have many opportunities to meet many different people. But ultimately, for me, the most important thing is to help people in their healing journey, right? And for me, I've always wanted to be that type of person. But there was also a time in my life that I would attach myself and make commitments and somewhat responsible for other people's healing. And now, through this process with all of us together, I recognize that I can still support people's healing without having to commit myself to that person, right? So being able to communicate that was a excellent opportunity. Well, the opportunity showing up was not necessarily excellent because it created anxiety. I knew I was going to have to exercise a skill that I don't know if I really wanted to do. I don't know how the person will respond. You know, it's a lot of questions come in your mind when you're about to face a challenge that you normally somewhat have difficulties with, right? But I pat myself on the back. I was able to communicate it, and now we're going forward where I can assist them in their healing. Because one thing that you want to do as you're presenting yourself to people is you do really want to put your best foot forward. You do want to take the steps to be able to present the best version of yourself, right? And if that requires you taking a little time and a change of energy where you have to focus on yourself and create a new healthy foundation, then you take that time, right? So that when you get out here, you won't be part of the reason they say there is pee in the dating pool, right? And then one more thing, between these lives and the work that I do, my daytime work, it affords me the opportunity to be in front of a lot of people on camera. And it's ironic because now I'm in this space where I want these moments to be and feel very authentic, right? But it's a lot of work that goes into even authenticity, right? So I've been in this space of, if you've been on the show for a while, you know there was a point where it was very much scripted and it seemed robotic. I took good notes. I wrote down everything that I wanted to be able to discuss with the people. And it just didn't feel genuine. So that was one extreme where it was very much scripted. And I know I am quick witted, affirmational way to speak about yourself. So I know I am quick witted and I think fast on my feet. But doing everything in somewhat of a whim or allowing everything to come together by luck and chance, or just trusting or just solely relying on my ability to think on my feet, can sometimes create a space where your best effort looks as though you didn't put any work. So now I'm in this space where I want these to look real authentic. But I also want you all to know that there's a lot of work that goes into this without it being scripted. So now I'm in this space between, because what made me really realize it is the day I had to announce this. I part of a training, and I had to announce the guy who was going to do the training. And I wrote down this thing that I was going to say. And of course, when it came time, I didn't quite say it like that. I tried to think on my feet, and it made me realize on how that's the space that I'm in right now, energetically, that I want to be able to do something that's true and authentic, but also allows the space for things to organically happen. And we've kind of been like that. But I think as we go forward in our healing journey, or as a soul family, we are going to be required to leave more space for that. And one example of that space, leaving that space for that flexibility, is, as I stated, now I started putting the link to join the live in the chats. So if somebody is watching or they're at a space where they want to take part in the soul family, then they can always click that link and join. And we'll do our best to help them put words to the emotions, the feelings, and the energies that they are dealing with at this point. So I appreciate you, Toddy. Toasted Toddy. I appreciate your Liberty. I know you're on your break, so you only got a little bit of time. And Queen Gemini, I see you. You can quiet as kept, but welcome to the Soul family. I appreciate you sharing a little bit of time with us. Lady Promoter, as always, I appreciate you as well too. And Tawana, welcome. I appreciate you sharing a little time with me tonight, family. It's good to see you as always too, right? Okay, so that is my moment of vulnerability and clarity with you. You know what I mean? So now we're going to move on to the show. So as of last week, we were talking about the power of suggestions and how we can use suggestions to essentially reprogram our mind. And we spoke on suggestions in basically two categories. We spoke on conscious suggestions, which show up as like other people's advice, the words that you hear that you're aware of, and then unconscious suggestions. And the perfect example that we use for that is media, or the things that we expose ourselves to in the form of sound, light, TV, news, social media, all forms of media, period. And then we discussed on how we can also use these things to address our traumas, because as we stated, trauma has that funny way of revisiting. And when it revisits you, it still gives you the opportunity to be able to exercise all these skills that you develop to deal with the trauma, or scratch, not to deal with the trauma, but to heal after the trauma, not the coping mechanisms. So you get to exercise the space of grace again, forgiveness. You get to even be angry again and allowing yourself not to stay in that space of anger. You get to do a lot of those things. And we spoke on how we can use affirmations, how the music that we can listen to, or the TV shows, or even the spaces that we call fun or we go for entertainment can affect our energy. And if we change these spaces, we create a new energy that nourishes the person or the people that we are growing to be, right? So now we will use symbols to address our traumas when they revisit us. And some of this will have a little overlapping with the power of suggestion, of course, because all of these things are more of, like I described, of more like a Venn diagram or the Olympic circles, if you're a little more familiar with that, where they overlap, even though they're two separate individual circles, they overlap, and in between they share some similarities. So the power of suggestion will share some similarities with the power of symbolism. But symbols, what are they? Symbols are essentially a means to communicate thoughts and ideas, right? And symbols generally have a meaning for what the symbol means. And then symbols also have an interpretation, which may not be anything close to what the meaning of the symbol is. So, for example, right, I looked up an example and thought about thumbs up, right? And, generally you can think, and you can just think about how in our culture, thumbs up mean good job, but there are cultures or places where thumbs up, even though it's a symbol, means something different. Or, for example, I was looking up today doing a little study, and I was looking at hand signs for the chakras, because I want to add something a little bit more. So even if you're in a space where you can't get to the breathing or something like that, you might be able to do a hand symbol. And the root chakra was something similar to this. And the heart is similar to this, right? Excuse me. Heart chakra, root chakra, right? And I've seen those signs several times in my life, but never as it relates to root or heart chakra. I've seen them as it relates to when you're saying, okay, you just move it up a little bit. And then also there are fraternities that use that same hand sign to represent their fraternity. And then it also means something in American Sign Language. So that's a perfect example of how this one symbol can have a meaning and various interpretations. Symbols are what is used to essentially shape our minds. And the way we're going to talk about symbols are between physical symbols and abstract symbols. Physical symbols are a little easier to discuss because those are generally the symbols that we're aware of. We see, we deal with regularly, to the point that they've conditioned us where we'll recognize them even if there are no words to read on them. So something that we recognize as symbols are brand logos. I talked about this. I remember when I was a kid, my mama used to love to tell this story. When I was a kid, I couldn't even see over the door. right? But every time we get near McDonald's, I'd say McDonald's. I want McDonald's. And you know that black mama know I didn't have no McDonald's money, so you know we weren't eating McDonald's. And she tells this story because she did not know how I was able to see McDonald's every single time that I appreciate you. Every single time, the reason that I can recognize McDonald's because McDonald's always put their symbols way up in the sky. So I didn't need to be able to look out directly to be able to see the brand logo of McDonald's. All I had to do was be able to look up, which is excellent branding. And you might not even realize that, but it's conditioned us that we do naturally look up if we're even looking for something like a McDonald's sign because it's always up there. Another symbol that we are very familiar with are religious symbols. One of the biggest religious symbol is the Christian symbol of the cross. That is one of the symbol. That is a symbol that we are very much familiar with in America, which has this strange blend of Christian thoughts and ideas, although we are still a melting pot of various cultures and languages, right? Another one was a fish. Fish means very different things. Some people say it means the sign of the Jesus was a fish, but I'm a Pisces. And a fish also symbolizes Pisces, right? Another way that we look at symbols, and symbols, as Liberty said, are suggestive. That's the part where they link over. I hope your food was good. And I hope you didn't eat it too fast. Another way we want to look at symbols is through symbols of achievement. I remember one of my best symbols of achievement was, I told you I used to want to be a dancer. And I went to visit my grandma before I moved to North Carolina. That summer, that was an interesting summer. And I don't even know where it was at. It's I don't know where I was. But I think it was some community center or something of that nature. And they had this what is this? Star search. Where you can get up there and do your little talent. So I got up there and did the whole dance routine me and my homeboys made up by myself because nobody in West Virginia knew that it was actually a routine for 4 people and not just me. And at the end of that, we all got this little trophy. And for me and everybody who had the courage to go on that stage, that trophy symbolized an achievement for us. It represented a certain level of courage. It represented a certain level of confidence. It represented a certain level of, I don't even really care. I'm going to do what I do. Another one that we think about is our diplomas. That high school diploma, the college degree, that master's degree, that doctorate, all of those are symbols of achievement that you have put in the things that were necessary to accomplish this goal. And that goal just happens to be that various levels of schooling, of education. And all of us had to spend some time in school. And if you graduated or if you did not graduate, we all understand how difficult navigating that could be. So to get to the finish line is definitely an achievement, and a diploma represents that achievement. We can step back and look at it on a larger scale. Civilization has symbols of their achievement. For example, us driving a car is symbolic of civilization's achievement. because there was a point in time where they didn't even have the wheel. And when the wheel was created, it revolutionized human civilization, which is amazing to think that one symbol, that circle, that they expanded out into a wheel, revolutionized symbolization. So the car is a symbol of achievement for mankind. And then we have things that we recognize as everyday symbols. And with the growth of technology, one everyday symbol that we use regularly is emojis. Emojis are definitely everyday symbols that show something. So, like, for example, their heart. If somebody sends you their heart, we all know it's a shared understanding of what that means. This emoji 100 has been used in so many different ways, but now it is literally a part of our everyday lexicon. I still don't understand those people who speak in emoji. Maybe I'm a little too old, so I'm still from the generation where we had cell phones, pay phones, beepers, and the internet. So life was crazy for us. In my age group. So maybe it is for a younger generation to speak in emoji. But emojis are everyday symbols that we deal with. But the biggest everyday symbol that we generally deal with is literally the alphabet. Each letter of the alphabet is a symbol. And we put these symbols together, these individual symbols together, to create new symbols. And then once we put those together, create new symbols, we take it even further. And we take those written symbols that were letters that then form words, that then form symbols, that then form sentences. We took those symbols and then moved them into the next idea. And that next idea is abstract symbols. So those written words become abstract symbols, symbols that we cannot touch once they become spoken language. This is why we tell you, be careful with your spelling. Not just how you spell the words, but how you put these words together to form sentences, and then how you abstractly use them to influence yourself and the environment around you. Right? When we also think about abstract symbols, the biggest abstract symbol that I can think of that we utilize and speak so loudly every day is body language. Body language symbolizes so many different things without using any words. For example, if I sit here and raise one eyebrow, that has a meaning. If I smile, that has a meaning. If I frown, or even if I have this, looks like I'm deep in thought, it has a meaning. The body can be more expressive in symbolizing your thoughts and ideas than any other language that we use. Right? And we use body language so deeply that we use the body to symbolize milestones in our lives. You think about it. A baby beginning to walk is a milestone that only can be seen through body language. Or my favorite, everybody in my class must learn to wipe their own bottom. Children learning to care for themselves at certain points or certain ages is a milestone that can only be observed through body language. We ask, can they hop on one foot? Can they skip? There's a whole physical domain that we can only assess the milestones of human development through body language, right? And facial expressions can be our number one way to speak, which is why they say when you play poker, you got to have a poker face, because you don't want to give away your excitement or your dissatisfaction with your hand as well. Excuse me, family. So, there's another abstract way that symbols affect us, and that's through signs and omens. But signs and omens are, signs and omens will be a show on its own. Because with signs and omens, there's a certain level of awareness that you have to be. So, for example, I'll give you an example of a sign or an omen. I have a friend that I've done energy readings on and things like that. They've gone to therapy. They do all these things. But they were talking about how they take this walk every day. And normally the walk is uneventful. They don't see anything. Nothing really happens. They just take the walk. It's a walk. But on this particular day, and it's generally in the daytime, it's in early morning, but the sun is up. On this particular day, they took this same walk that they take all the time. And they wind up seeing an owl out there. Now, on the surface, most people will see that as a coincidence. But when you recognize the power of signs and omens, you may become one of those people who do not believe in coincidence. And you recognize things as ironic, or as you grow and mature, the synchronicity of life. And they were talking about how the bird was there and blah, 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 and that was abnormal and their feelings about it. And I ever so politely said, hey, maybe there's a spiritual message for you. And they looked up what an owl means. And it definitely, what an owl meant was something that they were dealing with in their life, and they needed affirmation. But if they were not aware of the signs and omens, or if they brushed that very abnormal occurrence off as just an abnormal occurrence, they may have missed the clarity that was necessary, or the clarity that they asked for from the universe, right? So signs and omens are like the third abstract way of symbols are used to program and reprogram our mind. But we will talk about that. That will get its own episode, right? So we want to know, how can we use these things, or how can we use symbols to help our healing process? First thing I would tell you to do is use mind mapping. And in this case, how you will use mind mapping is just to take some time and think about the symbols that have significance to you. That means positive to you. That means encouragement to you. And take some time to visualize creating your own symbols. Because as we do this healing process, the one thing that we all are learning and gathering a depth of understanding to is we all have the tools. We've been blessed with the tools to do the healing that we need that's necessary. So you can use other people's tools, but you have the power to create your own symbols. So in mind mapping, you start thinking of symbols that you create or tools that you can use to help create symbols for you. So you think about the symbols that have significance of you to you. You think about symbols that you can create for yourself. And then you take these symbols and you start surrounding yourself with them. Whether it be words of affirmation or pictures, whatever radiates with you. It can even be a sigil, right? Which we're also working on, family. Next, I would tell you to utilize symbols of healing. See, a caveat in creating our own symbols is we are on the process of this healing. And until we learn to navigate our traumas and make sure that we are navigating life through our authentic and higher self, we will always need the support of others. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can start using symbols of healing. Now, so surround yourself with symbols of healing. That can be things like the tree of life, or I have these stones on my desk that we talk about all the time that I sit out here. I love my rose quartz, which is a heart stone. You know, I have some amethyst. We got a bunch of amethyst. We have a lot. So you can use stones as symbols of healing. Citrine. We got a bunch of stones. You know, we got the black amethyst. We got a lot going on. I wear one on my left hand. I got a new one that got all the stones on my right hand. So life is good. Another one that I do like is the tree of life. I used to always get that little medallion. I still have a shirt occasionally that I just put on in variations of the tree of life. I love the tree of life as a symbol of growth, development, and healing. And it ties fantastically into that root chakra visualization that we did a little bit earlier, because you are the tree of life, not just a branch, right? You are the tree of life. And one of my favorites when I was a kid and growing up and still resonates with me deeply is the Ankh. It symbolizes man, woman, and child. So I love that, but it's a symbol of healing. Start looking up symbols of healings and figure out, exercise, take that opportunity to exercise your skills in trusting yourself again. And as you see these symbols, go with the ones that radiate with your spirit. Like if something you look at, you like, oh, I like that. And you can't even express why. You don't need to. Just trust your spirit and trust yourself, and then go with it. Hey, Sherry, so glad you could join us for a while. I appreciate you as always. Excuse me, y'all family. So symbols of healing. Surround yourself with symbols of healing. One of my favorites is sound. I love sound. So we use 432, which is the healing frequency. And we've been using 528 lately, which is the love frequency. So don't be afraid to use all various forms of healing, of symbols of healing. So as you're thinking about these symbols, you want to think about what these symbols mean to you. Not just picking the symbols after it resonates with your spirit, or you pick the symbol. You do have to apply an intention to it. What do these symbols mean to you? I would think of everyday symbols and what they mean. So, for example, I have an everyday symbol and a brand logo as a tattoo. My first tattoo in my life was the Planters Peanut Man. It's a brand logo that has one meaning, but one of my nicknames in my family and friends is Peanut. So I like people to call me Mr. Peanut. So my first day, I'm sorry, that Mr. Peanut just trips me out all the time. And it's even funnier when you hear a kid. I remember this one kid that was on the spectrum, and my best friend was like, his name is Peanut. He's like, Mr. Peanut, peanut butter, play me out. Try to joke my name. So, but everyday symbols, pick some everyday symbols and what they mean to you. Put the intention behind it of what they mean to you, right? If you could think of some bland logos that speak to you, like I forget what drink that is that has the peace sign on it. And it's the brand logo looks beautiful because it's very colorful. It has flowers. You may be able to find some brand logos that don't just resonate with spending, but resonate with healing, right? Chakras are brand logos that represent healing. Even though at times we call them energy points, again, they can be called many different things, but they are the same thing. Think of your symbols of achievement that represent your healing. Think of the physical ones and then also think of the abstract ones. For example, one perfect sign, one physical sign of my personal healing is my Reiki certificate. One physical sign of our collective healing is this show. And they are our symbols of achievement. So I of our achievements in healing. So do things that represent your achievement in healing. Recognize the abstract ways, like the example I said earlier, in being able to communicate to someone why it is not a good idea for us to go forward romantically. That was an exercise and a skill that I normally be a little funny about. And if you are religious or spiritual or none of the above, think of those symbols or signs that represent your connectedness. For our lessons, we said religious symbols. They can be spirituality symbols. They can be anything. But make sure that they represent a connectedness for you, right? Then think about your abstract symbols. And the biggest abstract symbol that we talked about is the alphabet. So really think about how you form your words, how you use these words to form sentences, and how you use these sentences to influence the world around you. Essentially, be mindful of how you communicate, not just with others, but more importantly, how you communicate with yourself authentically and honestly. And make sure you are using language that promotes growth and healing. Then start thinking about body language. What type of things can reflect your growth through body language? You know, the first way I wanted to show that I had grown or that I am growing and healing through body language was for me to personally lose weight. And although it may not seem like weight is an issue, but weight as an issue shows up a bunch of different ways for people. And I joked with y'all before because I was that kid that had to shop in the Husky section. Husky section doesn't even exist anymore. But it was for kids who couldn't fit regular clothes. And they might not be big enough or big and tall. So I shopped in the Husky section. So weight has always been an up and down thing. When I moved back from Milwaukee, I weighed 225. Got down to 185. Went back up to 190. And all those are weights that don't seem like that's what I weigh. But I do weigh that much at 5'8". I am heavy. But that's the best way, or that was one of the first ways that I wanted to show healing and growth through abstract symbols. A consistent bedtime when you go to sleep, as simple as that is a body language routine. Next week, we will talk about repetition. We'll talk about how we use these tools in repetition. But a good bedtime is a body language routine. One of my favorite body language to show that I'm in a very different space emotionally and very healed is hugs. I'm a hugger. I'll give out a hug. I'll ask you if you want a hug. If you say no, depending on our relationship, I might still give you a hug. I don't hug strangers if they say no. But if you're family and I know your energy, you need to change your energy. It's amazing what messages you can send to people just by offering them a hug. And then if you recognize how touch deprived most of us are, you can also recognize how powerful a hug can be to change the trajectory of someone's day. And that someone may be yours. It could be you. And then 3, start trying to pay attention to signs and omens. Even though we'll talk differently, we'll talk a little deeper about that. I do want you to start trying to wake up that instinctual awareness in you. And if you start noticing things that are a little abnormal or something that's a little bit out of alignment, don't just brush it off. Take some time to think. Is there something I can get from this? My perfect example is one that I hate. So I have a tendency to find water bugs. I've talked to you about this before. And if you don't know what water bugs are, they call them palmetto bugs. And if you don't know what palmetto bugs are, they are them big roaches. Right? And I find them in my garage all the time. And occasionally they get froggy and get in my living quarters. But they'll show up even in places where there's no water. And initially and essentially, I'll be like, oh, they're so gross. I got to kill them, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to get rid of the palmetto bugs. because I was not aware of the synchronicity. And then one day I talked to one of my tribe and they were like, hey, maybe it's time for you to make a new contract with these bugs, right? So I made a new contract with the bugs. I tell the bugs, hey, bugs, I won't get rid of you if you stay out of my living quarters, right? So I haven't had them in the living quarters. But aside from that, I decided to look up what the spiritual meaning of these bugs, because they show up often enough in my life where it's not a coincidence. I remember when I was a kid, they used to be flying in New York. A lot of places, they just show up. When I went to college, they'd be hanging out on the basketball court. Like I went to college, there was no, I guess Winston Lake was a little bit close, but it wasn't water close enough where these bugs was playing basketball, right? But when I looked up the spiritual significance of it, they mean abundance. So although they're still creepy crawly, and although I still recognize them as bugs, I can also see them as a sign or an omen of abundance in my life. So third, take some time to start recognizing and open your awareness for signs and omens. And those will be the tools that will be how you use symbols to reprogram your mind. Again, symbols, we discussed them in physical symbols and abstract symbols. Physical symbols such as signs, abstract symbols such as spoken language or body language. How to use, you got to define what these symbols mean to you, the significance they have to your journey. You have to create some physical symbols for yourself and make sure you surround yourself with that. And then those abstract symbols of yourself, and make sure you start utilizing enacting those abstract symbols, such as how you communicate with yourself and others. And next week, we will add repetition, the power of repetition, to these other two tools of suggestion and the tool of symbols to address our traumas. And once we add symbols, suggestion, and repetition, we will have enough tools to start our healing, right? So family, I appreciate you. You know, it's about to be, the music might still be playing. I don't know. It's wrap up time. So we're going to go to the front cam. I thank you for your time as always. Even if you only spend 5 minutes, if you would like, hey Kelly, I'm glad you joined in for a little bit. I don't never get to see you. But girl, if you want a energy reading, you know, for the free ski whiskey. No, yeah, energy readings are generally free at this point anyway. So, Tater Tot, glad you joined in. Queen Gemini, I appreciate you. Hopefully you can join us again. You say Thursday night book club, even though it's Tuesday. I don't know what's going on with this TikTok thing, and I think not Soul Swam. I think LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, but Instagram too did that. Model Type, I appreciate you. I ain't give you your shout out the last time you joined, but I appreciate you giving me a couple of seconds as always. Yo, I tried to catch you. I was outside this weekend. Last weekend. I'll probably be back outside this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll give you a heads up. Appreciate you as always. If you got some time, join us Thursday. We are reading. What are we reading, family? The Celestine Prophecies. I thought it was a good addition. It connected very well to I thought it connected very well to The Alchemist, which we finished last week, the week before last, something of that nature. So we'll go from chasing our personal legend to the key insights of life that'll help us achieve these personal legends. Kelly, I appreciate you stopping through. It's both Kellys. I got Kelly from the borough. Whoop, 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 whoop. And co-worker Kelly. I appreciate y'all. Co-worker Kelly, me and Miss Nikki was just talking bad about you too. So she gonna reach out to you if she hasn't already to harass you. But I appreciate you stopping by as well too. So family, I hope if you can't make us join us Thursday for us continuing reading the Celestine Prophecies, I hope to see you next Tuesday as we work on repetition, the power of repetition, and combining it with these other two tools of suggestion and symbolism to address our traumas and start a healing path for ourselves. Again, I thank you for your time. And again, I hope you have a great week. And again, I look forward to building with you, family. Oh, no doubt, family. Yeah, I would love to do an energy reading for you too, model type. So anytime, but you can connect with me easy. So you don't gotta do it on the show. You just hit me, inbox me, and I'll, you know what I mean, we'll schedule something. I'll give you the link and stuff. But it could be virtual, in person. If you ready for it, you know, we got that Reiki stuff too. So, but we can talk about it later when we connect. So family, I appreciate you and stay blessed, y'all. For real. Yeah, I'm trying to do right with the music. The music don't ever play right on book club, but it plays perfectly on this one. Watch.